Hello, welcome to an unusual edition of Cracking the Cryptic. Not just because Mark takes on a non-Sudoku puzzle, which is more normally Simon's province, but because I've had to absolutely go crazy with the aspect ratio and the placement of the rules and everything to have a go at this puzzle, because it is, I don't even know how wide it is, but it's very wide, 15, 16, 24 wide by 8 tall, not the normal dimensions. It's by Pixel Plucker though, and there's a guarantee of quality right there. And this has been apparently very popular. It's not recent, but Simon's recommended that I have a go at it for the channel. So I'm very happy to do that because I trust Pixel Plucker. I trust Simon. You may be surprised to learn, but I do. And I'm keen to have a go at a non-Sudoku occasionally. We'll see how my foray into pencil puzzles goes today. Now, let's tell you the rules. I'll tell you the rules in a moment. Don't forget that on Patreon, we've got our Japanese Sums Sudoku pack by the Paint by Numbers Institute. It's fabulous stuff by SM Marcus 100, The Asylum and Panthera, aka the Paint by Numbers Institute, and they have created a Halloween trail of goodness and pictures which you can solve the Sudokus in and really enjoy. We're getting loads of entries in and we're very impressed by the number. Well done if you've had a go at that. There's lots of other content on Patreon, of course, including apps and including puzzle packs and crossword videos and connections videos. And other hard Sudoku solves occasionally, so do check it out. Of course, our apps, which suddenly thrust themselves into my description there, are also available on the links under the video. We don't have a pencil puzzle app, but we do have Domino Sudoku, which is partly relevant to this. There are some numbers involved in this puzzle. And what else have we got? We've got... do check out the apps, actually. They're just great value. There's Sven's Sudoku Pad, in which this has been created, because Sven is magic, and our merchandise. So check that all out on the links under the video. Keep saying the word check. Sorry. Let's read the rules of Kropki Chokona now by Pixel Plucker. So, shade some cells such that all the following conditions are met. Each bold region, so that's as designated by the bold line, so that's one region. Each bold region contains at least one shaded cell. Each orthogonally connected area of shaded cells is a rectangle. And that can include squares. Squares are a subset of rectangles. A black dot between two adjacent regions indicates that their numbers of shaded cells, the region's numbers of shaded cells, are in a 2-to-1 ratio. So this black dot is looking at that region, which I shall call yellow, and this region, which I shall call purple, and saying that the number of shaded cells in those two regions has a 2-to-1 ratio. A white dot between two adjacent regions, you can guess this one. So that region, orange and blue, have numbers of shaded cells that differ by 1 because the numbers are consecutive. A region with one shaded cell next to a region with two shaded cells may therefore be marked with either a black or a white dot, and all possible dots are given. That is, if there is no dot between two adjacent regions like this, or like blue and green, then neither of those above properties holds. That blue and green do not have shaded cells that are either different by 1, the numbers of them, or have a 1-to-2 ratio. Wow. I mean, okay, I understand the rules. The Chokona in the rules is from... Did these used to be called Choco puzzles or Choco something else? Maybe they are just called Chokona, but I don't remember that name. Anyway, the idea, I think, is you end up with a chocolate bar of 2 separate colours of pieces. Anyway, I'm not going to use brown, because brown's not in our normal palette, but let's start the clock. Let's get cracking. gosh, where on earth do you start? This is where Simon has the huge advantage over me in pencil puzzles. He has an innate sense of their weak points. I have no sense at all of that. See, I'd be inclined to look at the smallest regions. And we've got a couple of 3-cell regions on the right. Actually, we've got some here, but they don't have dots. This one has a dot. So the number in this region, every region has to have at least one shaded cell. So the number here is 1, 2, or 3. And that implies that the number here is, well, I was going to say 2, 4, or 6, but it could actually be a 1 again. Maybe we're going to have to trace sequences of regions, like that one leading to that one. I can't do my regioning. Leading to that one, leading to that one, leading to that one. They all differ by 1. No, I know. Let's find small regions that are touching each other without dots. That's a better thing to do. So yeah, we had some 3-cell regions, and I mean I did spot these two as well. But over here there are 3, 4-cell regions. And they're not connected with dots. Now I'm suddenly very interested in that, because how can they not be connected with dots? Remember that the number of shaded cells in each is 1, 2. I just had the alarming brain moment of going, oh, can there be any 2 by 2s? And then realizing we're making rectangles. Of course there are going to be 2 by 2s. Anyway, sorry. Each one of these has a number of 1, 2, 3, or 4 in it. I tell you what I'll do. I will put 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the first cell of the grid. And if I do come up with the correct solution, I will save so that you can play a version of the puzzle where if you put the right number in the top left corner of each region, it will tell you you're correct at the end. If I can. I think I can do that. You may need to have the conflict checker turned off for this puzzle. Mine is turned off. But that's if you want to play it using numbers, and I do. Anyway, this is quite interesting. Look, how could... Okay, I was going to say, how could any of these have a 2 as their number of shaded cells? Because wouldn't it be next to a 1, 3, or 4? And all of those are impossible. But, of course, there are 2 things about that I've immediately thought of are nonsense. One is that there is a connection between those 2 4-cell regions, a white dot connection. But the other is that 2 could be next to a 2 without a dot, because that doesn't fulfill either the white dot or the black dot ratio. So let's start with these 2. Maybe? I don't know. What can these be? If those were a 1 and a 2, oh, that's quite interesting. There's nothing this could be. If they were a 1 and a 2, because of the white dot, that's possible. Then this couldn't be 1 because it would be touching a 2 with no dot. It couldn't be 2 because it would be touching a 1 with no dot. It couldn't be 3 because it was touching a 2 with no dot. And it couldn't be 4 because it was touching a 2 with no dot. I think we are going to find out that neither of these can be 2, because what on earth can this be? Well, it could be another 2, but since they can't both be 2, it will break with whichever one of these isn't 2. And because of that, that is right. Neither of these can be 2, which is very bizarre. They must be a 3-4 pair because of the white dot now. And this, baby, this can't be 3 or 4 because it would be white dotting with one of those, and it can't be 2 because it would be white dotting with whichever one was the 4. So that is a 1. Oh, there goes a car alarm. Sorry about that. Not much I can do about that. It's not my car. I hope it's not my car. Right, I'm just going to soldier on through it. That's my local version of Maverick. I could shut half of a door next to me. Oh, it's stopped. I hope that's stopped permanently. Sometimes it just repeats on a loop. Anyway, This is a 1 region. Now, can I do any more from that? This was worth doing. And I've got to think, okay, the shapes as well, that I've got to colour lots of grey in here. How's that going to work? One of these is a 4. Yeah, okay, I'm just going to imagine for a moment that that was the 4. And they all go grey. Every time that we colour anything grey, it's got to be in a rectangle. So those 2 cells would go grey immediately. Now, that thing might happen down here in this 3x2, but it does happen in one of them, and therefore one of these 2 cells is grey in the one. I'm going to colour the other cells yellow because they're not grey. Now, I don't know that those were. And the other cell in this cage, in this one cage, is yellow, and that is then going to interrupt. So imagine that we made that 3x2 grey with that one yellow. This cell would have to be yellow as well, because otherwise you'd get a non-rectangle grey shape forming. So one of these 2 is the only yellow cell in this sequence of 8 cells. That is a yellow-grey domino as well. The rest of these are all grey. Okay, I've made a deduction. Now, I can fill in grey here because this has to be in a rectangle. I can fill in grey there for the same reason. And now I can finally spend some time thinking about this region. Can I? No, how about this region? Oh, that's quite exciting. Right, obviously this is 6-cell region. I wasn't planning to move up to 6-cell regions, although actually the corner ones are. But what can this be? And there's a lot of things it can't be, because it's touching a 3 and a 4 without any dots. So it can't be 2, which is half of 4. It can't be 3, which is 1 less than 4. It can't be 4, which is 1 less than 3. It can't be 5, which is 1 more than 4. And it can't be 6, which is twice 3. So this is a 1 region. That's fabulous. Now, where does the 1... Okay, this pair, they're either grey and adding to this rectangle, or they're both yellow and sealing off the rectangle. You can't have 1 grey and 1 yellow here. And since we're only allowed 1 grey in the region, those are both yellow. Same for this potential rectangle here. Those are both yellow. We've got another vertical domino of 1 of each. And, oh, that's interesting. It's a pair in columns 2 and 3. It's either a pair there extending this region or a pair there extending this one. But in column 4, because there's only one of them, it's got to be in the other cell, in the other row. I mean, I don't know what that means, but I'm going to think about this region now. This is touching, obviously, again, the number is from 1 to 6. This region has a white dot with that one, so we can forget 1 and 6. It's either 2, 3, 4, or 5. It's not 2, because there would be a dot with the 1 region. So it's 3, 4, or 5. And this region doesn't have a dot, but I don't know if that's a 3 or a 4. Oh, this cannot be a 5 region because of the black dot to here. Because this would have to be a 10 or a 2.5 region, and there's only 8 cells in it. So that's not a 5, and that is 3 or 4 as well. And we've got, in fact, it's the same digit as that because there's one parity there, the other parity here, the first parity there because of the white dots. Ah, look, there's a connection. No, it doesn't help because this is already connected to a 1 cell. What have we got going on? This one? Right, yes, this is now black dot connected to that. So it's either 6, 8, or 2. Well, it's not 8 because you'd have to fill all 8 cells and the rectangle thing would be broken by these yellows. It's not 2 because it's touching a 1 region without a dot. So that's 6. That's 3 in the corner. I get a little celebration. firing a strange way. That's 4, that's 3. And now I can do this colour, that is yellow, this one is grey. By the filling in the corners of rectangles version, that's grey and that's yellow. And now here, this can't be grey because it wouldn't be a rectangle. That's yellow and that's grey. Now, we've got 2 other cells to fill in this region. It's either those 2 or those 2. No, it's not those 2 because that is not a good extension of this rectangle. It can't be just that one. It must be those 2. I'm pretty sure that's right. So those are yellow. This is obviously yellow now. And that helps me, well, it completely fills in the 6 in that grey area. Now I can fill in these 2. Then I can think about this little area, which is either a 2 or a 3, and is not allowed to be a 3 because there's no black dot to the 6. So that's a 2, and that one's yellow. And then I can immediately fill in these as yellow because the rectangle has been terminated. Now, I was going to think about this for ages, and it's time to do it. This is a number between 1 and 6. It can't be 2 because there's no connection to the 1. It can't be 4 because there's no connection to the 3, and it can't be 6 for the same reason. So this is 1, 3, or 5. Now, if it's a 1, it's a single grey in the corner. I don't think it can be a 3 because it's got to operate. Oh no, it definitely can. Sorry, if it's a 1, it's that one that we've already done. That's definitely feasible. If it's a 3, it's that one that we've already done, which I didn't notice, and either that pair or that pair. And if it's 5, that's harder. I don't think it can be 5. Which 5 would you do? That 1 and those 2 and that 2 will not leave a rectangle. Yeah, you can't do it. So that is a 1 or a 3. Now, white dot, this is a 2 or a 4. It's not a 2 because it connects to that. So this is a 4, and that's another 3 in the corner, although I'm not physically putting the digit in the corner, so I don't get a little part A. Now, that we've done the 1, it's either that pair or that pair complete this. Right, 4 is touching 1 and 6, that's fine. Which 4? Those 2 must be yellow, because otherwise, if that was grey, this would connect into a non-rectangle. So that's yellow. That's yellow because that's yellow, and we've sealed off the rectangle. Now, 4 of these 5 are grey. Oh, and this region is going to be 3 or 5 now. What's this actually? This is not going to be 2 or 3 because it's touching a 4 without a dot. So that's a 1 region. And that doesn't fix the 3, 5. Now, let's go back to the consideration of which 4 of these are grey. Which 4 are grey? Right. If that was grey, this has to be yellow. If that's grey, it's a single grey cell on its own, which is a perfectly valid rectangle. No, I don't know that that's true. It could extend out here. It can't extend that way if that's grey. Oh, bother. The upshot is I don't know. And that's not helping me solve the 3. So maybe I go up here and look at this, which is connecting to a 2 without a dot. So it's not 1 or 3 or 4. So it's either 2 again, or 5 or 6. It's not 5 or 6 because I've already yellowed 2 cells in it. So that is a 2 again, and 2 of these are grey. This 3 or 5 is connecting by a black dot to this huge region. What's going on there? Well, it's the huge region. Look at this crazy, criminally big region. This is either 6 or 10 based on that black dot. Oh, and then that's connecting by a black dot to these ones, which are obviously 3 or 5. This is where the big sequency stuff Well, no, it stops there. But what's this? Not 4? Is that all I've got out of that? I don't know. This is a strange thing. So, but if this is 5, they're all grey, and they're all grey, and we have to grey those and those. That's big chunks of grey. That would be really helpful to prove. This being 6 or 10 is not affected by that 2 that it touches. Oh, it touches this, but that's a 6, and it touches this, but that's a 4. So it's not affecting those either. Oh, you really have to see every touch between regions here. It's like being an invigilator at a prom. 2 in one of those. Do I know about the shading of that? I don't feel I do. Maybe let's go back to here with the 4. Because I feel like I should be able to do this. Right, I can't colour those 4. Yeah, that's definitely true. That's quite exciting. Because those 2 would both be coloured to keep the rectangularity. And they're not allowed to both be coloured because of the 1. So if I can't colour all of those 4, I must colour this one. That's grey. Now this has to be yellow, otherwise we join up an impossible non-rectangle shape. Now the 2 extra greys in the 3 are there, and that's yellow, and we get into the corner. Now, this could extend. Those 2 can't both be grey, or we get an L shape. That's impossible. Therefore, one of them is yellow, and those 2 are grey. And one of these is grey and one is yellow. If that's grey, that's grey. But if that's grey, that's yellow. Then that's yellow. These 2 are the same as each other. This is not helping me with the 3 or 5 thing. Right, this big area is 6 or 10. These are both 3s or both 5s. So what's this? Oh, and that, look, these 2 are connected together. And neither of them can be more than a 5. They're all look at all these W pentominoes living around the centre. Right, that's quite interesting. What are these 2? If they were 5 and 4, which seems extraordinarily unlikely, but is possible, this couldn't be a 3 because it touches them both. Oh, it couldn't be a 5 either then. Right. Neither of these can be a 4 because that's 3 and 5, and yet they're consecutive. So they're either 3-2 or 2-1. One of them is a 2, and they're touching this one, so it can't be a 3. So that must be a 5. Wow, this big area is a 10. I don't even know how to write that into it. Let's use a 0. That is a 10 region. This is a 5 on the black dot. That's a 5 on the black dot. Yeah, that works with the 4. Now, 5 of these, all 5 of these are grey. All 5 of these are grey. This is exactly what I wanted. Now I can colour these in to complete the rectangles. Well, not complete them, but to carry them on. How am I going to find the 10 cells in this region that are grey? I don't know. But I also don't know whether these are 1, 2 or 3. Oh, this is not allowed to be a 4. Right, these 2 are both the same. They're either carrying on the grey along with that, or they're sealing it off and then they're both yellow. So this is a 2 or a 4, but it's not allowed to be a 4 because it's touching a 5. So that's a 2, and these are yellow, and yellow is sealed off here. And now, I don't know about these still. What's this, though? Right, either those 3 are all grey. Well, it could be a 5, except it can't because it's touching a 10 region without a black dot. It can't be a 4 because it's touching a 5 region without a white dot. So this is 1, 2 or 3, but we've already got one coloured. And now we can't colour all of those 3 grey, so we're going to have to colour them all yellow and seal off. So this is now a 1 or a 2. Does it touch a 1 or a 2? No, not that I can see. This is now 1, 2 or 3. I'm not going to carry that on, but maybe I can... but it's not consecutive with this one. So these two are either the same or a 1 and a 3. I don't know whether to be focusing on shading, on numbers, or something completely different at the moment. 2 is connecting to this one. This is 1 or 3. This is odd. That's connecting to this one with a white dot, so that is even. That's a definite 2. And we've got the 2 done. So these all go yellow. That seals off this rectangle at the bottom. They go yellow. This now has to be a 1. It can't be a 3. I don't know which one it is, because these could go grey. Now, that doesn't connect to this, so that is not a 2. That is 1 or 3. That's odd, and this is even, and is a 2, and that goes grey for the count of the 2. Brilliant. It feels easier to go right than to go left in this, but I will have to come back here at some point. That 5 is probably a starting point, but I'm looking more to the right now. This region touches a 1 or a 3. So it's not 2. It's got a maximum of 5 at the moment, and 5 is legal. 4 is not, because it touches this region. 2 is not, because it touches this region. So this is 1, 3 or 5. And 1 or 3 connects to this region with a black dot. So that is definitely 2 or 6. And that means this is not 3, because it would have either a white or a black dot connection to that. This is 1 or 5. If it was 5, it would be impossible. They would all be grey, and that would create a non-rectangle shape. So this is a 1. This is now not a 2, because there's no white dot, so that's a 6. And this is now a 3. I was going to say, and that makes this a 4, but it doesn't. It could go back to being a 2. We'll think about that in a moment. 6 is a big number. 1 is a tiny number. Those all go yellow. That one, I still don't know. But 6 of these are grey, and 3 of these... Oh, these have to be yellow now, because otherwise, if that was grey, we'd get an impossible non-rectangle shape. And those, once that's yellow, having sealed off this rectangle, those go yellow. This is grey to complete the 1. It's a grey on its own. We said 1 by 1s were possible. Now, there are still 3 of these to go grey. And they can't include those 2 because we'd get an L shape. So those go grey. Now, in the 6, well, we can't include an L shape. So, are these grey or yellow? They can't be yellow, because that would leave all of those being grey in a weird L shape. So those are grey. Those are definitely 2 of the grey ones. This must be yellow now, otherwise we'd get an L shape. Now these 2, are they grey or yellow? They can't both be yellow or we wouldn't get 6 in, so they're grey. This is yellow because it's been sealed off at the bottom, so those go grey. Now we've got 1 each there. What's this region? No, first of all, this is 2 or 4. That's very clear from the 3. This is odd. Let's trace this sequence around. 1, 3 or 5. This is even, 2 or 4. What's this one? It's not 2 or 4 because it doesn't have a dot with this region. It's not 6 because it's only got 5 cells in. So this is 1, 3 or 5. It's not 3 because there's no, or 5 because there's no dot with the 6 region. So that's a 1. Oops, that's a 1, and it's connected to this region without a dot, so that's 4. So this is 3 or 5, and I don't know. But one of these is grey. So these, I was going to say these 2 have to be the same colour. That is true. They have to be yellow. These 2 have to be the same colour because of the rectangle, so they're yellow. There goes the car alarm again. What's wrong with that car? So this is grey. That's yellow because we've sealed off this region. This one needs a 3 in its region, so that's grey. This needs 4, and it can't use both of those because then we'd get an L shape. So they're all grey. Now that's grey to complete or to fill in the rectangle. That's yellow. That car alarm, by the way, woke me up at 10 to 6 this morning. It's quite annoying, I'll tell you that. And I don't think it's a genuine alarm. I think it's a false alarm. So I'm sorry about that. That was a long time ago. I thought the whole thing was fixed, and I really didn't want that getting into this video, so I hope it's not intruding too much on your enjoyment of my other suffering. Now, this can't be 2 anymore because there's no connection to a 1, so that's a 4, which doesn't fix this 3 or 5. This cell can't be grey because this bottom end has been sealed off. Now, can they all be grey for a 5? That would be grey as well. I'm going to have to start thinking about these other regions. 1 connecting to... 4. These can't both be grey because we'd get an L shape, so they're all grey, and now that's grey and that's yellow. That's quite straightforward, actually. Now, this region can't be a 5 or a 3 because there's no dot with the 4. It can't be a 2 for the same reason. So this is 1 or 4. But it's not 4 because it would definitely have a white dot with 3 or 5. So that's 1. These have to be the same colour, so they're yellow. The 1, well, it could be there or there, so I don't know the answer to that. But it is a 1 region. Which region is better to give me clues about the regions on the right, do you think? I don't know. Maybe I should think about whether this is a 3 or a 5. Well, it can't be a 5 because we'd get a ridiculous grey shape there that's non-rectangular. So that's a 3. Can't use those 2, but that's not quite enough information. However, this, how many cells are in this region? 10. Okay, it can't be a 2 because it's next to a 1. It can't be a 4 because it's next to a 3. It can't be a 3 because it's next to a 4 or a 5. It could still be 1, I think. Or 7, it can't be 6 because it's next to 3. It can't be 8 because it's next to 4. That's really weird. It's 1, 7, 9 or 10. I'm using 0 for the 10. But I don't know. How am I going to figure this out? I kind of feel like I'm missing a rule at this point. Oh no, there's a 1 region here connected with a white dot to this. So that's a 2. This has a black dot to this one. So that must be a 1. Okay, good. Now, this can't be a 1 region because of the 2 connection and no dot. Oh, wow, what? This is 7, 9 or 10 are all filled here. This is crazy times. Well, those 2 can't be both filled because that would ruin this grey region. And yet, at least 7 of these are. I'd love to know that it wasn't a 7, then I could basically fill it all in. Not quite, but you know what I mean. Okay, let's think about this region. It can't be a 1 or a 3 because of this 2. It can't be a 2 because it's next to the 4, and it can't be a 5. How many cells are there in it? 7. This is a 6 or a 7. Lots of that is coloured in. That's interesting. Right. What about this? This is a 1, 2 or 3, very, very obviously, but... Oh, the 6 or 7 is connected to this one, which is 10, 9 or 7. Well, this can't be a 7. This is definitely a 6. and this is definitely a 7. This can't be a 3 now because it's touching the 6 without a black dot. Oh, this is a freaky puzzle. Right, 7 of these are grey. 6 of these, that's an awful lot of grey. Now, only 1 or 2 of these, not all 3. Therefore, all 3 of these can't be grey. And I think that means the other 4 cells in the region are grey. Then I can not complete, but carry on this rectangle by making those grey. Then this pair are either grey or yellow, but if they were yellow, we wouldn't get up to 6. So they're grey, and that's yellow to complete the 6 region. Now, this is 1 or 2. This cell can't be grey. That's yellow. These two have to be the same colour, so this is a 2 region. Excellent. Now, these aren't grey because we've got sealed off. Now, 5 of these 6 are grey. What does that... Oh, these two... No, I don't know that. I was going to say these two can't both be grey because we get an L, but we don't know that because we've still got 2 to put in here. We've got to get 3 of these grey. We can't use those 2. I've known that for ages. 1 of these. Ah, how do you do this? This is a fascinating puzzle. I feel like I'm well over half of it coloured, and I suspect I'm not halfway through because all the difficult stuff is still to come. I wonder. I don't know. 3 of these are grey. What does that mean, guys? What does that mean? 2 of these are grey, so those are the same colour because they're under these. 2 is not very many. 1 is fewer still. Right, let's start with 5 of these are grey. Okay, it can't be those 5 because the yellow there would make no sense, so that's grey. It can't be those 5 because yellow there would make no sense, so that's grey. Now, these 2 are the same, and I don't know what that is. These 2 are the same, and I do know that that's grey because we've only got 1 more yellow to place. So 1 each of yellow and grey here. Now, these 2 are the same. Are they grey? These 2 are the same. How hard can this... I mean, this is very hard is the answer to how hard can this be. This feels very hard to me. Right, if they were both grey, then this 1 would have a grey there. Ah, if they were both grey, that would be yellow, and all of these would be yellow, and that would be grey in the 7. Well, that does seem possible. So those 2 being grey seems very possible. So what if those 2 were grey? All of these would be yellow. Ah, and 1 of these would be yellow, so both of them would be yellow, but that's too many. If those 2 were grey, you'd have to seal off this grey region with yellow here, because one of them has to be yellow, but then both would be. That's no good. So they're not grey, but they are the same colour, they're yellow. Now, 1 each of these, I still don't know which way round that goes. This could be grey here if that's grey, but that could be grey if these 2 are yellow. I think I'm being very dense around here, but I don't see it yet. So you've got to bear with me. These 2, if these 2 are grey, that's grey. If they're not grey, if they're yellow, well, any one of these can be grey then. That's not very helpful. If they're yellow, right, either that pair are grey or that pair are grey in the 2, so that's yellow. It's not that pair that are grey, got it, because these 2 would have to be the same. Yeah, you couldn't just make one of these grey. If they were both grey, there'd be no one of those you could make grey without creating an L. So they're yellow. These 2 are grey. Now these 2 have to be the same. They're yellow. That's grey in the corner. Now I still don't know here if it's that cell or those two that are grey, but I've got one each there. It's this 3 is going to have to tell me somehow. What on earth? I mean, I can see that they could be grey and they could be grey. The fact that that works suggests to me that it is the only version that works, but I don't really understand why. In fact, I really don't understand why, because I don't see why... Oh no, they can't all be grey. Right, that threesome... In fact, that twosome can't be grey. Yeah, it's something to do with this stuff down here around this region. If that was grey, if that was yellow, what happens? Then that's yellow, that's grey. Then we've got a twosome here of grey, but also a one piece here. Well, I'm sort of not seeing why we couldn't have grey in those cells. Is that a miscount somewhere? How does it work? Feels like I've come up with 2 different ways of making this happen, which makes me worry that I've made a mistake somewhere else in the puzzle. They're different from each other. Now that sort of means these two have to be different. No, it doesn't. They could both be yellow. But they couldn't both be yellow because all these 3 would be grey. These 2 cannot be grey together. That's important. Therefore, at least 2 of these are grey. And they can't all be grey, because that would create an impossible threesome. Now, what have I proved there? 1 or 2 of those are grey, not 3. Plus, well, it can't be one of those because that would require both of those to be grey. That's not possible. So it's 2 of this green region and 1 of the purple region are grey. 2 of the green region, and then here it's 1 of each. Oh, look, I'm so sorry. I've sealed off this grey region with that yellow. It's so obvious. There is no... Oh. Anyway, that's grey to complete the 7. Now let's get rid of those colours. We've still got to have 3 grey, but we can't have those 3 because it would create an L. So that is grey. Now that's grey to fill in this huge chocolate region. And that's yellow. This is yellow because it's sealed off, and those are both grey to make the 3 work. Okay. Whew. That's a relief. Now, let's try this 4 again. If that's grey, and that's the 1. If that's grey, that's yellow, and that's yellow. I'm still none the wiser. Okay, maybe I've got to work on the 5 first. Right, on the 5, well, we can't, well, could we make, well, we obviously can't make all of them grey because that would be 6. One each of those. I don't know which one it is. Is it that one and that's grey? What happens then? Then that's yellow, so that's yellow. Then all of those would go grey with 2 yellows there. That's not possible because of that shape. Right. So that is not grey. That's yellow. That's grey. And that doesn't tell me... No, it does tell me this can't be grey because we'd have an L that couldn't be completed. So that's yellow. Now, this 5, come on. We can't have those 5 because this would be yellow and would ruin a rectangle. So that's grey. It must be true the other way up as well. We can't have those 5 because this would be yellow and ruin a rectangle. So that's grey. This has to be yellow because otherwise we've got a bad shape. This is grey to complete the 1. Now, these can't all be grey or we'd get a hideous shape, so that's grey. 2 of these are grey and 1 is not. Well, it can't be those 2 or we get naughty shapes. So it's those 2 that are grey and that's yellow. Okay, good. That's something done. We've actually, oh, with this region, I haven't even numbered it. Good Lord. Well, it can't be 1 or 3 because it's next to 2. It can't be 4 either. It's 2 or 5, but it's next to the 10. So that's a 2 region and we've already got one of it. These 3 cells now are all the same. They have to be yellow. Ah, come on. That's good. One of these is grey and one is yellow in that 2 that I hadn't even numbered because I'm a numpty. Now, that can't be grey and that can't be grey because they'd create L shapes. So they're yellow. So 2 of these are grey and 1 of these is grey. And we've got to complete 10 greys in this region. How many cells are there in this region that aren't yellow? I think we've got 16 at the moment. What on earth am I meant to do with that information? This is tough. Right, let's start down here. How many of these can be grey? You can't join them up, so this is one of each at a maximum, 1 grey. And therefore this is 1 grey at a maximum. So a maximum of 2 there. That could be grey. That's 3. We're up to a maximum of 3. Now, let's look at, what, this area? Maximum of 3 in purple there. Okay, we can't have all of those 3. We could have those 4. Oh no, look, we've sealed off the top of this grey area with yellow, so those are yellow. Oh, it's reducing now. Maximum 3 here. We can't have all of those 3, so let's say 2 of those. That's 5. And then that's a maximum, a minimum 5 of these 6 cells. Well, we can't have those 4. So we must have those 2. They're definitely grey now. It is about counting this large 10 region. That's so freaky. Now, we still can't have those 3, so that's grey. So we've got 3 of the greys done in this 10 region. Here it could be that pair or that pair, depending on whether we fill this in. We've also got to think about filling this in. Now, we said 3 here. I've got 4, 5, 6. Maximum 2 of those, definitely. So I've got to have 2 of these filled. Could it be those 2? Yes. It can't be those 2 because these 2 would have to be the same colour. It can't be those 2, so that's grey. One of these is grey, definitely. One of these greens is grey. 3 of these purples, and I think the 3 included that one having to be grey, so I'm filling that in as grey. This must be purple now, yellow. It is purple. It must be yellow because it can't join these greys round the corner. And now these 2 are the same, and they've got to be the grey to achieve the 2 grey here. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These 2 can't both be grey, but one of them is, that's 8, and then 2 of these. 2 of the orange, 1 of the green are grey. Now, I've got to use this too. Surely I'm going to have to fill this in as grey. No, I'm not, because then those 3 would be grey, and these would have to be the same colour. That is not grey, that is yellow. Now this can't be grey because we'd get an L shape. can't be grey, so it's yellow. Those two oranges do go grey. The two can't, this isn't grey. Oh, would we get an L shape? No, I'm not sure. That could be part of a 3x2, so calm down. Talking to myself, not to you. Now these two are the same colour because those two are both grey. If they were both grey, these would both be yellow. That seems fine. If they were both yellow, these would both be grey and that would create an L. So those are both grey. Good grief. These are both yellow. This is grey to complete that region. This can't be grey. And this is grey to complete the 2 region. And that is the coloured solution to this puzzle. Just let me get rid of the yellows just to check that it looks like I've only got rectangles of grey. Yes, this 0 represents a 10. And I will put in a solution check so that if you get numbers in these positions, these numbers in these positions, it'll say you're right. Assuming that the software allows that. I'm not 100% sure. I think that's right. If not, you have to just check with my solution at the end of your solution. By now it's too late to tell you that. Anyway, thank you for watching. What an intriguing puzzle. I can see why people love this. It really wrecks my head doing these pencil puzzles from time to time, but I've enjoyed that. Thank you for watching and hope to see you again on the channel soon. Bye for now.